An early morning surprise. Auburn lands Eric Singleton Jr. Finally.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five. And what a way to kick this week off. Auburn gets the signature of the number 2 player in the portal, Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech. You've been waiting on this one for a while, and it pops literally just minutes ago. It's pretty crazy. We'll talk about all that in just a second. But before we get started, we got to give a shout out to Mybookie.ag. Got 2 coupon codes for you. You got TNR Casino. That gets you a 300% deposit bonus in the casino. And then you got Next Round that gives you a 50% deposit bonus anywhere. So get that big triple up in the casino, win big, then go to the sports book, bet any sport you can imagine, any way you can imagine, and have a lot of fun. Easy deposits, easy withdrawals. It's mybookie.ag. Guys, this is hilarious. I'm literally sitting down. Full disclosure, I always record these in the morning because I want it to be as up to date as possible. And then, with the way my schedule works and all that, it's easier for me to get up early, record, and still be able to, spend the day doing what I do full time, and then obviously be with the kids in the evening. So I'm sitting down, getting ready to record, and then I get a Twitter notification. Phone buzzes. I typically am locked in. I don't look at it. I just happen to look down and it says Eric Singleton Jr. commits to Auburn. I'm like, wait a minute. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's dig through it. And you go through some Twitter mentions. You go through a few other things. Then boom, Hayes Fawcett posts his graphic that Eric Singleton Jr. has committed to Auburn. And it seems that that's the case. Eric Singleton is signed with Auburn. It's what a way to start off the week. What a way to start off the day. Of all the times, and we'll talk about how strange the timing is. Of all the times that you could have pulled the trigger, it's like 6 a.m. Central Standard Time on a Monday morning before Christmas. It's just kind of funny. But regardless, big addition to this class. The one that gets to the headlines. You're talking the number 2 player in the portal. He was the number 1 player in the portal. Think about the portal. Think about all the guys that have gone in the portal. Think about everybody, defense, offense, offensive tackles, quarterbacks. Think about everybody that's gone into the portal. This kid was the number 1 kid in the portal until John Mateer went in, which, everybody knew he would jump to number 1 when he actually went in. But we're not talking about just anyone. You're talking about one of the best players available. And it's at a position that Auburn has a lot of talent. Auburn is very, very talented there, but they're not real deep. Again, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, what about the Freeze 4? What about this? What about that? The thing is, you just can't go into a season with only 5 returning receivers. You gotta have some depth. And Auburn has just capped off this wide receiver room with a unbelievable young player that's got at least 2 years to play. He may only need 1 because he may be on draft boards in the 2026 draft. So again, really, really completes this room. And in my opinion, makes everybody better. Makes your outside guys better. Puts a lot of stress on defenses. I think it's going to make your running backs better because you're not going to be able to cheat guys up into the box. You're going to have to respect these. You're going to have to respect him anywhere he's on the field, on top of having Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons and Bryce Kane and Perry Thompson and Horatio Fields. You're going to have to respect all those guys. So I think it really, really makes that wide receiver room one of the best in the country. And it's going to make everybody's production a lot easier. So huge addition. Cam Coleman's already posted about it on his Instagram. So if you go to Cam Coleman's Instagram, he's already reposted the graphic. So obviously, Cam, what are you doing up at 6 a.m. on a Monday? I mean, come on, man. You sleep in, dog. Quit. Don't worry about the grind. Sleep in and rest. No, but so that shows you just how much it means to Cam to have this guy to the room. So you worry about how some of these guys will react to stuff like this, but there you go. You have your number one throwing it up there already in a show of support. I got one little gripe for Hayes Fawcett. Come on, Hayes. You got to go ahead and switch out the Under Armour logo. I know this may have caught you by surprise. I know you may have had one in the hopper ready to go, but come on, man. Attention to detail. You got it right on the Jackson Arnold one. Got to get it right on the Eric Singleton Jr. We are no longer an Under Armour football school. We may still have to be one for basketball for just a little bit longer, but come on. Let's get from now on. If we're going to do the jersey switch out, we got to get the Under Armour thing right. But I'm obviously tongue in cheek a little bit, but just excited to finally have this one to bed. I can't at the barn auburn.com. It's understandable that the confidence wavers as the days go on, as the hours go on, the confidence wavers. And I had to just continue to reassure everyone, nothing's changed. I don't know what the holdup is. Nothing's changed. Do not freak out. There's if you really think about it, there wasn't even really anybody else that was seriously in the picture. I mean, he went to all the top NIL spots. He went to Ole Miss. He went to Texas. He went to Miami. All guys that spend a ton of money in the portal, but never was there even really any inkling that one of those schools were really going to get him. You were basically the team to beat the entire time, like wire to wire. Ole Miss may have been a number 2, but I just don't think it was ever really that close. I think it was Auburn pretty much from the beginning. He wanted to take some visits. I mean, think about it. He was committed to Western Kentucky like his whole life. His whole senior year, and then he flipped to Georgia Tech the last on signing day, I think, actually. So getting a piece of that recruiting process, and hey, you're the number 2 player in the portal. Like, make sure that money's right. You know what I mean? Make sure you got that thing right because, you're you're one of the best players that's available. You need to make sure you get the right value and get the most bang for your buck. And I think obviously between that and the depth chart and what Auburn's building on the offensive side, I think it all just made sense. And then playing with Jackson Arnold, that's another vote of confidence there for Jackson Arnold. For those that are concerned, for those that have questions, there's you another vote of confidence. Everything kind of started to make, now that it's happened, if you pay attention at all on Twitter and things like that, the timing kind of makes sense because late last night, Kenyatta Watson, who is very tight with Eric Singleton Jr., he's been supremely confident this whole time. When anybody wavered, Kenyatta was, we got it. He's ours. He's an Auburn Tiger. He posted the chess piece. I assume it was checkmate, maybe, is what he was trying to put out there because he put a green check on it. And so obviously that signified something. And everybody was kind of putting 2 and 2 together to assume that has to be another, hey, guys, chill. We got Eric Singleton. But I think what it actually means is that's whenever they got the signing. That's whenever they got the signature to sign his scholarship papers. That's my opinion of what I think that means. And why I think it means that way is the way things played out this morning, because typically what happens is once the signing goes in, there's this database that everybody has. There's this database that all these national writers have access to where they can see when transfer guys go into the portal, before most others, and they see signings when they come in. And the way the timing worked out, I feel like Pete Nakos from On 3, whenever he woke up, he checked that. That's one of the first things I'm sure he does every morning is checks that portal and says, boom, there's Eric Singleton Jr. He signed. I'm going to get out ahead of this. He went ahead and put out the tweet, and then everybody sort of followed. Maybe they wanted to have some, a little bit more strategic announcement today, but there's no way to hide it. Once it's signed and once you're in there, there's no way that you can keep that secret. And there's really no reason for a rider. There's no those guys don't have any allegiance to Auburn. Those guys don't have any, I guess, responsibility to protect Auburn if they have this plan, if they don't notify them. But shoot, there's so many guys that have access to it. You couldn't call enough people to keep it quiet. Once it goes in there, just get ready. It's about to go public. And it just so happened that it went in late last night. And then that's what I think anyway. The signature went in late last night, maybe processed this morning or whatever. And as soon as they saw it, it went out. But regardless, he signed. He can't go anywhere. And I think he's going to be a very huge asset to this team. I'm only concerned about one receiver, and that's Malcolm Simmons, because I think that there were some questions about whether or not he was okay with it. But I think ultimately they've smoothed it over, and that may have been the holdout. That may have been the holdout of what took so long, because Malcolm's so valuable. I think you had to show him that, hey, we're going to give you your value. You're very valuable. And from a financial standpoint, we're going to make sure you're set. And then B, you have to understand that we got to have 6 wide. You got to have more than just 5 returning wide receivers. We're short scholarships. You got to bring in guys. Okay. And then 3, this guy's going to make you better. This guy's going to take even more pressure off of you. This guy is going to make it to where we can put out different types of, we don't have to necessarily substitute to get the right formation. We don't have to substitute anymore to get the right personnel out there for the right play, for the right moment. Now we can put you, Cam, Eric, and, maybe even Perry at times. We can put all you guys out there at the same time and just go run tempo. And you got at least 3 to 4 guys that can, 3 to 4 guys, maybe more. I guess, look at all of them, but you got 3 to 4 guys right now that you can put in there, and you can run a whole drive without substituting. And you got different aspects that can do all the different things. You got different wide receivers that can do all the different things that you want to do from a wide receiver standpoint. So I think I want to make sure I'm hoping that Malcolm's bought in, and I would assume he is based on his importance, because otherwise you may have to make a tough decision. And if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick Malcolm. But I hate, I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. So timing was fun this morning. That was fun to wake up to, but at the same time, it's kind of crazy how it took so long. And the recruitments in the portal typically don't go like this. They're typically a lot faster. Even if they do take all their visits, it's typically they pull the trigger right after the last visit. So I would like to know the full story here, and maybe I'll hear it one day. But it's fun. Who cares at this point in time? Who cares? He's in the boat, and we're rocking and rolling. So Eric Singleton Jr. definitely going to be an Auburn Tiger next year, and that just puts a bow on this. Definitely puts a bow on this receiver class and this transfer portal class. Not really a bow on it, but definitely bolsters it up there. I got to see when the rankings update where that puts us. Auburn was 7 before he signed in the transfer portal. So we'll see how far that shoots Auburn up. We're going to talk about what type of player you're getting here in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to our boy Ford Stokes with Active Wealth. Go to retirementresults.com/plan. Get your custom portfolio analysis absolutely free. That's like a $1,500 value elsewhere. What do you get in that? We're going to dive in. He's going to dive in. He's not going to give you a PowerPoint presentation, a pamphlet, a handout. He's going to dive in and look at what you have going on. What are your goals? And you're going to find out, is what you're doing going to get you there? Is what you're doing stretching your dollar as far as it can possibly be? Are there some fees you can eliminate to help you get there sooner? Ford Stokes is the guy for you. Tell him War Eagle. Tell him we sent you. That's Ford Stokes with Active Wealth. So what type of player are you getting out of Eric Singleton? If you haven't done any research whatsoever, He's a 2-year player. Okay, so he's going into his 3rd season. He's 5'11", 190, small, a little bit smaller guy, but he's not so small that he's pigeonholed to being a slot guy. He can play outside. He played a lot outside. Super, super consistent over his 2 years. I mean, you're talking 714 yards receiving his freshman year, 754 yards receiving his sophomore year, always averaging right around 13 to 14 yards per completion. So he can be a big play guy. And what's funny is even his long touchdowns, like his longest touchdowns of each year, last year was 58 yards. This year was 57 yards. It's kind of crazy. Just mega, mega consistent. 9 total touchdowns in 2 years. Just a really trusty inside, outside combo type receiver that you can move all over the field, a lot like Malcolm Simmons. I think it's almost maybe a little bit less explosive version of Malcolm Simmons with maybe better hands. So you could have 2 Malcolms on the field. Really, I mean, legitimately, 2 guys that can do everything, 2 guys that can take a drag route or a slant to the house at any point in time. I think those 2 guys are going to really eat up over the middle, and they complement each other, I think, really, really well. He was used a lot more this year in the run game. He averaged over 6 yards a carry, 21 carries, 131 yards. So if you have some jet sweep stuff or those little pop passes that they do to Malcolm, where it's technically a pass, but it's really a run, it's really a jet sweep where you kind of pitch it forward. So you get the stats. I don't know why they started doing that. That to me just seems so incredibly dangerous. But yeah, it's he's going to be a factor early. There's no warm up period with him. There's no time that you got to bring him in and get him acclimated. He's ready to play, and he's been ready to play ever since he stepped on the college football, stepped into college football. He's been able to play he's been able to produce in big games. I mean, go back to the Georgia game where they played in 22 overtimes. He had 8 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. That's big time. Georgia Tech, that was a battle. And Georgia Tech doesn't just have like incredible weapons, especially on the outside, other than Eric Singleton Jr. And he still produced at a really high level against one of the best defenses in the country. Kid can play. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Had a big game against North Carolina State. 5 catches for 106 yards. I'm just looking at his stat line right now. I mean, just game after game, he's going to go out and he's going to get you 4 to 6 catches, and average, again, over 10 yards a catch. He's a really, really talented kid. Very, very excited to have him a part of this roster. You got a guy that's got, in theory, 2 years of eligibility. We'll see what that looks like after this season, if it's a one and done type season. You're going to have so many weapons for Jackson. Last year the thought was, we're going to bring back Peyton and we're going to build around Peyton, and it's going to make him better. And it did make him better. I mean, his stat line did jump, but there were some things about Peyton you just they weren't going to be fixed with surrounding talent. Now you've gone out and you got Jackson Arnold, who has, by all accounts, just a ceiling that is hard to top as far as like overall talent and skill level and what he could achieve. And you've already got your core receiving core and base, your base receiving core in sort of already intact. You already got those guys there, and you just needed a couple pieces to give some depth and some extra explosion. You added Horatio Fields, who to me is a perfect addition to this room, a guy that's not just somebody that's a guy that can come in and help other guys compete and not just be like a discouraging, awesome another Keandre Lambert-Smith, to where there's no chance in beating him out. Like the guy that's going to come in but he's a big and physical guy and can play outside, maybe even make him a big tight end target, a tight end mismatch target. You got him to add to the room. Then you add Eric Singleton Jr. with what you already have. And man, oh man, those are some weapons at wide receiver. When you think about what Jackson had to throw to last year, when you're on, number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 wide receivers, because your first, 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 5 were out vast majority parts of the year. You've shored up the offensive line. Man, you got some weapons. You got some weapons for him. And again, I said it earlier, but I think that says a lot about Jackson Arnold for those that are doubting. You just signed the number 2 player who happens to be a wide receiver after you signed Jackson Arnold. And what could have been this is a big year for Eric Singleton. This is a big decision for him because he's thinking, I'm sure I'm going to hit it one more time and I'm going to the NFL. And he chooses Auburn, and he chooses Jackson Arnold, and he chooses Hugh Freeze. I think that's big on a whole bunch of levels. So, hey, tomorrow's show is going to be a banger. Already had it set up. Already had it ready to go. I was about to hit record, and then boom, you get the news on the commitment. So that's a lot of fun. That just kind of give you a look behind the curtain of how I do things and then how this whole thing played out this morning. So, guys, I really appreciate it. Great way to kick off the Christmas week. It's Christmas season. So let's go. Let's go, baby. We got the big one in the boat. Now let's have some fun. Let's celebrate. So I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you have a great week. It's impossible not to have a great week now. So now it's downhill from now. Now you got this kind of peaks opening presents. Like this might be opening presents might be sort of like a downer based off of this. So I don't know. You're going to have to get yourself back up, get back up for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So we'll be here all week. Don't have no idea what type of content we're going to have, but it's going to be fun regardless. So we'll be here, guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And we'll talk again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay button.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.